When I handed the judge that folder full of emails, my wife's face went from confident to ghost white in about 3 seconds. Her lawyer stopped mid-sentence. The stenographer actually looked up from her keyboard, because in that moment everyone in that courtroom realized she hadn't just been planning a divorce. She'd been planning my death. Welcome to Cheating Story Exposed. Real stories, real justice, no sugarcoating. You know what? I notice many of you watching haven't hit that subscribe button yet. Here's the thing, we drop stories like this every single day. Stories about people who got played, got smart, and got even. If you want to see how these situations really end, subscribe now and turn on notifications. Trust me, you don't want to miss what happens next. My name is Owen Garrett, and I thought I had a good marriage. 15 years, 2 kids, a house in a decent neighborhood. I worked in logistics management, nothing glamorous but stable income, good benefits. My wife Vanessa had been a paralegal before the kids were born, then stayed home for 8 years before going back to work part-time at a real estate office. We weren't wealthy, but we were comfortable. I should have noticed the signs earlier. The way she'd started dressing differently. The new interest in going to the gym 5 days a week. The phone she kept face down on every surface. But I trusted her. That was my mistake. I thought we were partners. The divorce papers arrived on a Wednesday afternoon. I was working from home and the process server knocked during a video conference. I had to mute myself, sign for the envelope, then get back on camera and pretend everything was fine while my hands were shaking. Vanessa had already left. She'd taken the kids to her mother's house 3 days earlier, said she needed some space. I thought we were just going through a rough patch. Apparently, she'd thought we were going through an ending. The petition claimed abandonment, neglect, and emotional abuse. I read those words in my kitchen, standing by the counter where we'd made breakfast together hundreds of times. Abandonment. I'd worked 60-hour weeks to support this family. Neglect. I'd coached soccer, helped with homework, driven to dance recitals. Emotional abuse. I'd never raised my voice to her or the kids in anger. Her lawyer was Mitchell Brennan, a guy with a reputation in our county for aggressive divorce tactics. The kind of attorney who turned settlements into scorched earth campaigns. I knew I needed representation, but good lawyers aren't cheap. I met with 3 before settling on Patricia Voss, a woman in her 50s who'd been practicing family law for 25 years. Patricia was direct. She read through Vanessa's petition in her office, and when she looked up, her expression was serious. The claims are severe, Owen. Abandonment and abuse allegations, especially with minor children involved, these put you at a significant disadvantage. We need to respond carefully and build a counter-narrative immediately. I didn't abandon anyone, I said. I've been present for every major moment in my kids' lives. I believe you, Patricia replied. But belief isn't evidence. We need documentation. Photos, emails, calendar entries, witness statements. Anything that proves consistent involvement and care. I started gathering everything. I pulled up my work calendar showing the times I'd left early for school events. I collected photos from my phone, years of birthday parties, vacations, weekend trips to the zoo. I reached out to my kids' teachers, their soccer coaches, neighbors who'd seen me at bus stops and playgrounds, but something felt wrong. Vanessa's accusations were too coordinated, too strategic. This wasn't just a woman who'd fallen out of love and wanted a divorce. This felt calculated. I started thinking about our finances. We had a joint checking account, but Vanessa had opened a separate savings account about 18 months. Earlier, said it was for household emergencies. I'd never questioned it. We also had life insurance policies, standard term life through my employer. I carried a $1 million policy with Vanessa as the beneficiary. She had a smaller policy through her real estate firm, except I remembered something odd. About 10 months ago, an insurance agent had called me at work, said he was following up on a policy application. I told him I hadn't applied for anything, assumed it was a sales call, and hung up. Then I'd forgotten about it entirely. Now it bothered me. I called the insurance company's customer service line. After navigating their phone tree, I reached a representative and explained I wanted to verify what policies I had in place. The representative asked for my social security number and date of birth, then put me on hold. When she came back, her tone was professional but careful. Mr. Garrett, I show 2 policies under your name. The first is a $1 million term life policy through your employer, Midwest Logistics. The second is a $2 million whole life policy taken out 14 months ago through Consolidated Life Partners. I don't have a $2 million policy, I said. According to our records, the application was submitted and approved in September of last year. The premiums have been paid through automatic withdrawal from a checking account ending in 4729. That wasn't my account number. I gave her my account information. She confirmed it didn't match. Whose account is that? I asked. Not authorized to provide account holder information for privacy reasons, she said. But the policy beneficiary is listed as Vanessa Garrett. My stomach dropped. Someone had taken out a $2 million life insurance policy in my name without my knowledge. The premiums were being paid from an account I didn't recognize, and my wife was the beneficiary. I need copies of that application, I told her. Everything. The original. Documents, the payment history, all of it. She explained the process. I'd need to submit a written request with identification. It would take 7 to 10 business days. I did it that afternoon, sent everything certified mail. Then I called Patricia. When I explained what I'd found, there was a long silence on her end. Owen, she said finally, this is serious. If your wife obtained a life insurance policy using your information without your consent, that's fraud. If she's also filed for divorce claiming abandonment while holding a policy like that, we need to consider the implications carefully. You think she was planning something, I said. I think we need those documents immediately, Patricia replied. And I think we need to inform the court about this policy's existence. The next week was the longest of my life. I kept working, kept functioning, but my mind was constantly running through scenarios. Why would Vanessa take out a policy I didn't know about? Why claim abandonment when I'd been present and involved? Why involve an aggressive lawyer for what should have been a straightforward divorce? The insurance documents arrived on a Friday. I sat in Patricia's office while she reviewed them. The signature on the application looked like mine, but I'd never signed it. The medical information was accurate. Height, weight, no smoking, no major health issues. But the bank account information was completely foreign to me. Patricia made copies of everything. Then she made a phone call. I need a handwriting analyst, she said to whoever answered. Family law case. Potentially forged signature on financial documents. How quickly can you turn it around? She scheduled an appointment for Monday morning. The analyst, a retired FBI document examiner named Dr. Raymond Chen, looked at my known signatures and the insurance application's signature under magnification and special lighting. It's a traced forgery, he said after 40 minutes. See how the pen pressure is? Inconsistent, and these hesitation marks at the beginning of strokes. Someone traced your signature, probably from a scanned document, then went over it freehand to make it look natural. It's good work, but it's definitely not your original signature. Can you testify to that? Patricia asked. Absolutely, Dr. Chen replied. We had proof of forgery, but we still didn't know the full picture. Patricia filed a motion with the court to delay proceedings and submitted the insurance information as new evidence requiring investigation. Vanessa's lawyer, Brennan, immediately filed a countermotion calling our claims inflammatory and prejudicial. The judge, Honor Margaret Holloway, scheduled an emergency hearing for the following week. I spent that week digging deeper. I accessed our cell phone records. We were on a family plan, so I had legal right to the account. Vanessa had been texting someone extensively over the past 8 months. The number wasn't saved in any of her contacts that I knew about. I ran the number through a reverse lookup service. It came back to a man named Derek Paulson. I didn't recognize the name, so I searched online. Derek Paulson was a claims adjuster for a small insurance firm in our city. The pieces were starting to connect in ways that made my blood run cold. I printed the phone records showing hundreds of texts and calls between Vanessa and Derek. I couldn't access the content of the texts through the phone company, but the frequency and timing told a story. Late-night conversations. Exchanges during times she'd claimed to be at the gym or running errands. Then I remembered Vanessa's laptop. She'd left it behind when she took the kids to her mother's house. It was still sitting in our home office. I need to be clear about this. I consulted with Patricia before accessing it. She advised me that as a jointly owned marital asset in our shared home, I had legal right to access the computer. But she also warned me that anything I found needed to be documented carefully to be admissible. I took photos of the laptop's location before moving it. I documented that it was in our shared home office, not in a private space with an expectation of privacy. Then I opened it. Vanessa hadn't logged out. Her email was open in a browser tab. I started reading, and what I found made me physically ill. The emails went back nearly a year. Vanessa and Derek had met when she'd started working at the real estate office. He'd come in regarding a property claim. They'd started talking, then texting, then meeting for coffee, then more, but it wasn't just an affair. The emails detailed something much darker. In one exchange from 7 months ago, Derek had written, "The policy is solid, $2 million payout on accidental death, no questions asked after the first 2 years. We just need to be patient." Vanessa had replied, "How much longer? I'm tired of pretending." Derek, "Soon. We need to establish the pattern first." The abandonment claim helps. If something happens to him after you've documented abuse and neglect, it looks like he was unstable, depression, possible self-harm. The insurance company won't dig too deep. I had to stop reading. I walked to the bathroom and threw up. When I came back, I forced myself to continue. I needed to see everything. Another email from 5 months ago. "Derek, I talked to my buddy who does staging. He said a hiking accident is cleanest. Fall from a trail, head trauma, looks accidental. There are spots in the state park where people have fallen before." Vanessa, "I don't know if I can do this." Derek, "You said you wanted out. You said you wanted the money to start fresh. This is how we make that happen. Otherwise, you split everything in divorce and you're broke. This way, you get $2 million clean, no taxes, and we can be together without worrying about money." There were more. Discussions about my schedule, my habits, my routines. Places I went alone, times when the kids wouldn't be with me. Derek had been researching my life to find vulnerability points. The most recent email was from 2 weeks before the divorce papers arrived. Vanessa, "The lawyer says abandonment and abuse allegations will destroy him in court. When it happens, everyone will think he was depressed and did something reckless. Nobody will question it." Derek, "Perfect. We're almost there." I was looking at evidence of conspiracy to commit murder for insurance money. My wife and her lover had spent months planning my death. I called Patricia immediately. It was 8:30 at night, but she answered on the second ring. "Patricia, I found emails," I said. My voice was shaking. She was planning to kill me. "They have dates, methods, everything. Slow down, Owen," she said. "Tell me exactly what you found." I explained the emails, reading passages directly to her over the phone. When I finished, there was silence. "Owen, this goes beyond family law," Patricia said. "This is criminal conspiracy, insurance fraud, possibly attempted murder. We need to involve law enforcement immediately. Don't touch that laptop again. Don't access any more emails. We need to preserve this evidence properly." She made arrangements for a forensic computer specialist to image the laptop's hard drive the next morning. She also insisted I contact the police and file a report. I called the non-emergency line and explained I'd discovered evidence of a criminal conspiracy. They sent a detective to my house within an hour. Detective Sarah Kornicki was in her 40s, professional and thorough. She took my statement, reviewed the printed emails I'd already documented, and arranged for the laptop to be taken into evidence. She also contacted the insurance company and Derek Paulson's employer. "This is substantial," she told me. "We'll be opening a criminal investigation. Don't communicate with your wife directly. Don't confront her or this Derek individual. Let us handle the criminal side. Your attorney will handle the civil side." The emergency hearing arrived before any criminal charges could be filed. Judge Holloway's courtroom was formal and intimidating. High ceilings, wood paneling, the seal of the state mounted behind the bench. Vanessa sat with Mitchell Brennan at their table. She was wearing a conservative blue dress, minimal makeup, her hair pulled back. She looked like a sympathetic victim. When I walked in with Patricia, she didn't meet my eyes. Judge Holloway called the hearing to order. "Mr. Brennan, you requested this hearing to address Mr. Garrett's motion regarding newly discovered insurance documents. Please proceed." Brennan stood. He was a tall man, silver hair, expensive suit. "Your Honor, Mr. Garrett's motion is a transparent attempt to derail legitimate divorce proceedings with inflammatory and unsubstantiated allegations. My client has filed for divorce on grounds of abandonment and emotional neglect. Mr. Garrett's response is to accuse her of insurance fraud, which is both absurd and offensive. We ask that his motion be denied and that the court impose sanctions for filing frivolous claims." Judge Holloway looked at Patricia. "Ms. Voss, your response?" Patricia stood calmly. "Your Honor, we have documented evidence that a $2 million life insurance policy was taken out in Mr. Garrett's name without his knowledge or consent. The signature on the application has been examined by a qualified forensic document examiner who will testify it's a traced forgery. The beneficiary of this policy is Mrs. Garrett. The premiums have been paid from an account Mr. Garrett has never accessed. This is not a frivolous claim. This is evidence of fraud that directly relates to Mrs. Garrett's motives in this divorce proceeding. Brennan stood again. Your Honor, my client has no knowledge of any such policy. If a policy exists, it's likely an administrative error or perhaps a misunderstanding regarding policies taken out through Mr. Garrett's employment. Judge Holloway raised a hand. Mr. Brennan, I'm going to stop you there. Ms. Voss, do you have the insurance documents and the examiner's report? Patricia handed a folder to the bailiff, who delivered it to the judge. Judge Holloway spent several minutes reviewing the contents. The judge looked at Vanessa. Mrs. Garrett, did you take out a life insurance policy for your husband? Vanessa leaned toward Brennan, who whispered something to her. Then she looked at the judge. I don't recall applying for any such policy, Your Honor. You don't recall, Judge Holloway repeated. Mrs. Garrett, the policy in question has a $2 million death benefit with you as the sole beneficiary. The premiums have been paid consistently for 14 months. This isn't something you simply forget. I may have discussed insurance options with an agent, Vanessa said. Her voice was steady, but I could see her hands clenched in her lap. But I didn't forge anything. If there was a misunderstanding with paperwork, that's between my husband and the insurance company. Judge Holloway didn't look convinced. Ms. Voss, is there anything else you wish to present? Patricia nodded. Your Honor, there's additional evidence that came to light after we filed our motion. With the court's permission, I'd like to present email correspondence that suggests the life insurance policy was part of a larger scheme. Brennan shot to his feet. Objection, Your Honor. We've had no opportunity to review any additional evidence. This is trial by ambush. Your Honor, Patricia said calmly, these emails were discovered on a jointly owned computer in the marital home. Mr. Garrett had every legal right to access them. They're directly relevant to Mrs. Garrett's motivations and credibility. Judge Holloway considered this. I'll allow the evidence, but Mr. Brennan, you'll have the opportunity to respond. Ms. Voss, proceed. Patricia handed another folder to the bailiff. Judge Holloway began reading. I watched. Her expression changed from professional neutrality to sharp concern. She read for almost 10 minutes without speaking. Finally, she looked up. Mrs. Garrett, these emails appear to be between you and someone named Derek Paulson. They discuss the life insurance policy, Mr. Garrett's routines and habits, and what could be interpreted as plans to stage an accident. Do you deny these are your emails? Vanessa looked at Brennan. He was reading his own copy of the emails, and his face had gone pale. He leaned over and whispered urgently to her. Your Honor, Brennan said, standing, I request a recess to confer with my client. Denied, Judge Holloway said sharply. Mrs. Garrett, answer the question. Are these your emails? Vanessa's composure cracked. I want to invoke my Fifth Amendment rights, she said quietly. The courtroom went completely silent. You understand what that implies, Mrs. Garrett? The judge asked. Tears were running down Vanessa's face now, but she nodded. Yes, Your Honor. Judge Holloway set down the folder. In 23 years on this bench, I have never seen anything quite like this. Mrs. Garrett, I am dismissing your divorce petition in its entirety. The allegations of abandonment and abuse are not only unfounded, they appear to be part of a deliberate fraud scheme. I am referring this matter to the District Attorney's Office for criminal investigation. Mr. Garrett, I strongly advise you to seek a protective order and full custody of your minor children pending the outcome of that investigation. She looked at Brennan. Mr. Brennan, I expect you had no knowledge of your client's activities. However, I suggest you withdraw from this case immediately. Brennan stood quickly. Your Honor, I request permission to withdraw as counsel. Granted, Judge Holloway said. We're adjourned. The bailiff called for everyone to rise. Judge Holloway left the bench. Vanessa sat frozen at her table, mascara streaking her face. Brennan was already packing his briefcase. Not looking at her, I walked out of that courtroom in a daze. Patricia guided me to a conference room down the hall. That was extraordinary, she said. I've never seen a case turn that dramatically. Owen, you need to understand this is far from over. There will be criminal proceedings. You'll need to secure custody of your children immediately. But today you won, absolutely and completely. I didn't feel like I'd won anything. I felt sick. The woman I'd loved, the mother of my children, had spent months planning my death for insurance money. The criminal investigation moved quickly. Derek Paulson was arrested 2 days later. When detectives searched his apartment, they found more damning evidence. Printed satellite maps of hiking trails with annotations, research on toxicology and what substances could cause a fall to appear accidental, and a burner phone with texts to Vanessa that hadn't been on their main devices. Vanessa was arrested a week after that. The charges were conspiracy to commit murder, insurance fraud, and forgery. Derek faced the same charges plus additional counts for his professional misconduct as a licensed insurance adjuster. I filed for divorce immediately, this time with grounds of abandonment and fraud on my side. More importantly, I filed for emergency custody of our children. Vanessa's mother fought it initially, but once the criminal charges became public, she relented. My kids, Lily was 12 and Marcus was 9, came home confused and traumatized. Telling them was the hardest thing I've ever done. I sat them down in our living room on a Saturday morning and explained that their mother had made very serious mistakes, that she was going to face consequences, and that they were safe with me. Lily asked if I was going to die. That broke something in me. I pulled both of them close and promised I wasn't going anywhere, that I would always protect them. That no matter what happened with their mother, they would always be safe and loved. The criminal trial took 9 months to prepare. Derek took a plea deal, 20 years with possibility of parole after 12. His testimony was damning. He admitted the entire scheme had been his idea initially, but that Vanessa had embraced it enthusiastically once she understood the financial payout. Vanessa went to trial. Her new attorney tried to argue she'd never intended to go through with it, that it was fantasy discussion between lovers, not a genuine conspiracy. The prosecution destroyed that argument with the forged insurance application, the detailed planning emails, and Derek's testimony about the specific steps they'd taken toward execution. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. Guilty on all counts. Judge Holloway, who had been assigned to the criminal case as well, sentenced Vanessa to 30 years for conspiracy to commit first-degree murder, with additional time for fraud and forgery to run concurrently. With good behavior, she might be eligible for parole in 20 years. I attended the sentencing. Vanessa looked at me across the courtroom. She looked older, thinner, haunted. I didn't feel vindicated. I felt hollow. The divorce was finalized 3 months later. Because of the criminal convictions, I was awarded full legal and physical custody of the children. Vanessa was allowed supervised visits once she was settled in her prison assignment, but the kids would have to choose whether they wanted to maintain contact. So far, neither has chosen to visit. I don't push them. They're in therapy. We're all in therapy. The insurance company canceled the fraudulent policy and refunded all premium payments to the bank account Vanessa had secretly opened. Those funds were frozen as part of the criminal restitution process. I declined any claim to them. I kept my legitimate life insurance policy through work, but I changed the beneficiary to a trust for the children. It's been 2 years now. Lily is in high school. Marcus is in middle school. We've moved to a different house in a different neighborhood. Too many memories in the old place. I'm still working in logistics. The kids are doing better. We have game nights on Fridays. I coach Marcus's baseball team. Lily is on the debate team. I don't date. I'm not ready. Maybe I never will be. The idea of trusting someone that completely again seems impossible. But here's what I learned through all of this. When something feels wrong in your marriage, in your family, in your life, trust that instinct. I ignored warning signs because I wanted to believe everything was fine. I trusted when I should have verified. I also learned that patience and documentation are more powerful than confrontation. If I'd confronted Vanessa the moment I found those first irregularities, she could have destroyed evidence, spun a narrative, turned things around on me. Instead, I gathered facts, built a case, and let the truth speak for itself. And finally, I learned that strength isn't about never being afraid or hurt. It's about continuing forward despite those things. My kids needed me to be stable, present, and reliable, so I was. I got up every morning, I made breakfast, I helped with homework. I kept our lives moving forward even when mine felt like it had stopped. The judge in that courtroom didn't just save my life by exposing Vanessa's scheme. She restored my faith that truth matters, that evidence matters, that justice is possible even when the betrayal cuts deep. Owen Garrett. I was almost murdered for insurance money by the person I trusted most in the world. But I'm still here. My kids are thriving. And every day I wake up and choose to build a life that's honest, stable, and safe. That's my victory. Not the courtroom drama or the criminal convictions, but the quiet strength of being present for my children and refusing to let betrayal define the rest of my story. If you're watching this and you're facing something similar, not necessarily murder plots, but betrayal, divorce, custody battles, or any situation where someone is trying to destroy you, document everything. Stay calm, build your case methodically, Trust your instincts but verify with evidence, and remember, the truth is powerful. Sometimes it takes time for it to emerge, but when it does, it changes everything. Thanks for watching Cheating Story Exposed. If this story resonated with you, or if you know someone who needs to hear it, share it. Subscribe for more stories like this. And remember, justice might be delayed, but it's not defeated. I'm still standing. My kids are thriving. And the woman who tried to end my life for money is spending the next 20 years understanding the cost of that choice. That's not revenge. That's consequences. And sometimes, consequences are the only justice we need.